Assalamu alaikum. Welcome all to Easy Human Anatomy channel. In this video I discuss 17 different types of cleft and palate with embryological explanation. There is thousands of birth defects present, but common one are heart defect, cleft lip and palate and Down syndrome. You see the occurrence rate of the cleft lip and cleft palate. The possible cause. Both genetic and environmental factor and some teratogens, smoking cigarette by pregnant mother, drinking alcohol, anticonvulsant drugs, especially valproic acid, retinoic acid. These drugs are used in treating acne, which is common in young women of childbearing age. Great care should be employed before prescribing this type of drug in young female. Embryological cause. Neural case cells are essential for the formation of craniofacial region. This is the ectoderm, mesoderm, endoderm. This is the neural tube formation. This is the location of the neural case. This neural case cell soon detach from the neural tube, and these cells are extremely migratory. They migrate throughout the body and form different structure. Neural case cell origin in the neurorectum of the forebrain, midbrain, hindbrain region. They migrate ventrally to the pharyngeal arches and rostrally around the forebrain and optic curve to form the facial region. Neural case cell forms some facial bone. This blue color area, these bones are developed from neural crest. The connective tissue, bones and cartilage of the head neck region is developed from the neural crest, and rest of the body, this structure is developed from mesoderm. There is the other structure which developed from neural crest. So disruption of the migration, proliferation, differentiation and survival of the neural case result craniofacial abnormality. So migration abnormality. Neural case cells undergo extensively migrate to reach specific location in the developing embryo, where they contribute to the formation of various tissue, including bones, cartilage, connective tissue of the face and skull. Disruption in the migration process can lead to misplace of neural case cell, resulting in structural abnormality in the craniofacial region. Proliferation and differentiation. Neural case cell reach its target location, and after that it proliferate and differentiate. Sometimes there is a problem in proliferation and differentiation. This causes destruction of the tissue and create craniofacial abnormality. The neural case cell also interact with the surrounding cells, and this communication is very essential for the interactions and functions of the neural case cell and also the collective migration. Genetic factor. You see there is some step-by-step developmental process of neural case: induction, proliferation, migration, differentiation, structure, adult structure formation. This every step is controlled by the some gene. So any mutation of the genes causes cell damage and structural defect. Environmental factor also influence its normal development, normal proliferation, differentiation. Interestingly, two enzymes are lack within the neural crest, catalase and superoxide dismutase. This enzyme clean toxic free radical. So this cell is easily destroyed by the free radicals. Orofacial cleft are one of the commonest birth defect and may associate with the other congenital anomaly. It is also associated with the congenital heart defect. Some sequence is observed with oral cleft, the Peary-Robbins sequence, and sometimes the otitis media with effusion and hearing loss also seen associated with the cleft palate. So summary of the craniofacial defect: genetic factor, environmental factor, migratory factor, and there is a problem in proliferation differentiation, cerebral. Now, development of the face and palate. The external human face develops during 4 to 6 weeks of the embryonic development, and within 6 the face development is complete, but palate is complete its full development within 12 weeks of development. And two important external structure is regard to development of the face: the pharyngeal arches and neural crest. This is the pharyngeal arches. The bar of tissue is present in the future neck of the fetus, and this bar of tissue externally lined by the ectoderm, internally lined by the endoderm, and core of this bar of tissue is formed by the mesenchyme. This mesenchyme is derived from two sources, mesoderm and neural crest cell. In the hindbrain region, the neural crest cells originate in specific pattern from the segments called the rhombomer. They are 18 in number, and the neural crest cell migrate to specific pharyngeal arches. For example, the R1 and 2 migrate to the first pharyngeal arch, and R4 migrate into the second pharyngeal arch, and R6 and 7 is migrate to the 4th to 6th pharyngeal arch. The patterning of the muscle of craniofacial area depend on the connective tissue that form the neural crest. You see in this picture the neural crest and cranial mesoderm. The neural crest cell is migrated. In the head, it is complicated pattern of muscle of the facial expression, neural crest cell direct patterning. But in the cervical and occipital region, connective tissue develop from the somoid, which detect the development of the muscle. This is the transverse section through the lateral development of the head, showing the pharyngeal arch with a central mesodermal core surrounded by neural crest cell, and you see the neural crest cell begin to infiltrate within the mesoderm. In this picture, the group of cranial muscle with their neural crest derive MCT. You see, this is the cranial mesoderm. This is blue color area, neural crest derive MCT, and yellow color extraocular muscle. Here, cranial mesoderm, neural crest derive MCT, and first arch jaw muscle. So like this, neural crest guided the patterning of the muscle of the craniofacial region. So any insult of the neural crest, the normal patterning of the muscles are hampered. The structure of the external face are derived from the three prominence: the frontonasal prominence, maxillary prominence, and mandibular prominence. Frontonasal prominence form forehead, bridge of the nose, and they also, the lower part of the frontonasal prominence created two another prominence, medial nasal prominence and two lateral nasal prominence. There is a two maxillary prominence in each side and two mandibular prominence in each side. So this is frontonasal prominence. In the lower part, there is a two medial nasal prominence, and two lateral nasal prominence, and they are developed around the olfactory placket or nasal pit. So soon and this is the maxillary prominence and this is the mandibular prominence. Soon the medial nasal prominence is come closer and unite with each other, and further growth of occur and form the intermaxillary segment. And you see the maxillary prominence is fused with the lateral nasal prominence, also part of the medial nasal prominence. Maxillary prominence also fused with the mandibular prominence. So this is the medial nasal prominence, and further growth of the medial nasal prominence internally is create the intermaxillary segment. So this portion of the medial nasal prominence is known as the intermaxillary segment, situated in between two maxillary prominence. From the intermaxillary segment, philtrum of the upper lip, 4 incision teeth and primary palate is developed. The primary palate is fused with the secondary palate. Secondary palate is formed from the maxillary prominence. From the maxillary prominence, two palatine cells is developed and they fuse with each other. Not only they fuse with each other, in front they also fuse with the primary palate, and like this definite palate is formed. So the palate is formed from the two sources. From the intermaxillary segment, primary palate is developed, and from the maxillary prominence, the secondary palate is formed. The development of the lip. Upper lip, so the source of the upper lip is to the middle portion intermaxillary segment and lateral portion maxillary prominence. The lower lip is completely developed from the mandibular prominence. You see, this is frontonasal prominence, maxillary prominence, and this is mandibular prominence, and the mandibular prominence fuse and form the lower lip and jaw. Now different type of cleft lip and cleft palate. First, the unilateral incomplete cleft lip. This is the unilateral incomplete cleft lip. Here the medial nasal prominence, part of the medial nasal prominence failed to fuse with the maxillary prominence. Unilateral complete cleft lip. Here part of the medial nasal prominence is failed to fuse with the lateral nasal prominence and also maxillary prominence. So this type of cleft lip communicate up to nasal cavity. Unilateral cleft lip with cleft anterior palate. So here the medial nasal prominence failed to fuse with the lateral nasal prominence and maxillary prominence, and internally the one side of the primary palate failed to fuse with the secondary palate. Unilateral cleft lip with full cleft palate. Here the part of the medial nasal prominence is failed to fuse with the lateral nasal prominence and maxillary prominence, and also one side of the primary palate failed to fuse with the secondary palate, and palatine self of the secondary palate failed to fuse with each other. Bilateral incomplete cleft lip. You see, the part of the medial nasal prominence is failed to fuse with the maxillary prominence bilaterally. Bilateral complete and incomplete cleft lip. Here in the left side, the medial nasal prominence failed to fuse with the lateral and maxillary prominence, but in the right side, the part of the medial nasal prominence is failed to fuse with the only with the maxillary prominence. Bilateral complete cleft lip. Here, in the both side of the medial nasal prominence fail to fuse with the lateral nasal prominence and maxillary prominence. Bilateral cleft lip with anterior palate. Here, this is the complete bilateral complete cleft lip. The medial nasal prominence is failed to fuse with the lateral nasal prominence and maxillary prominence, and also the whole primary, both sides of the primary palate failed to fuse with the secondary palate. So there is a complete U-shaped gap present here. Unilateral cleft palate. Unilateral cleft palate, you know the secondary palate is developed from the two palatine self developed from the maxillary prominence. Here, so this is the palatine self developed from the maxillary prominence. Here, two palatine self unite, fuse with each other, and from the above, the nasal septum also fuse with this structure. But what happened here, one palatine self is fully developed and unite with the nasal septa, but other palatine self is incompletely developed and fail to fuse with the opposite palatine self and also fail to fuse with the nasal septa. So this is the unilateral cleft palate. Isolated cleft palate. Isolated cleft palate very commonly affected in female. You see, this is the two palatine self developed from the maxillary prominence, and they are incompletely developed, so fail to fuse with each other and also fail to fuse with the nasal septa. Bilateral cleft lip and full cleft palate. Here, the bilateral cleft lip and the whole primary palate is failed to fuse with the secondary palate, and two palatine self of the maxillary prominence fail to fuse with each other, and nasal septa also fail to fuse with each other. So there is a big gap present here, and the oral cavity and the nasal cavity is continuous. Isolated incomplete median cleft. Median cleft lip. So this is the median cleft lip, very rare congenital craniofacial abnormality. Here you see the two medial nasal prominences unite, fuse, and further grow and form the intermaxillary segment. So incomplete growth of the medial nasal prominence is developed the median cleft lip. Oblique facial cleft with cleft lip, usually in the lateral part of the lip. This is, so here what happened, the lateral nasal prominence is failed to fuse with the maxillary prominence, and medial nasal prominence also failed to fuse with the maxillary prominence. So there is a big gap is present here, and congenital anomaly of the nasolacrimal duct is commonly seen this type of defect, because nasolacrimal duct is developed in this location. Cleft lower lip. Cleft lower lip may incomplete or complete. It's a very rare condition. Failure of the incomplete fusion of the first pair of the branchial arch or improper mesodermal penetration in the midline of the mandibular part of the first branchial arch. Median cleft of the lower lip and cleft chin. You see, there's a mandible are not fused, mandible is not fully developed. This is the first branchial arch, and Michael's cartilage is developed from the neural crest, and the part of it from the mandible and malleus incus of the middle cavity. So failure of the fusion of the first pair of the branchial arch and improper mesodermal penetration into the midline of the mandibular part of the first branchial arch, which also explain absence of hyoid, thyroid cartilage, stapes muscle, and manubrium. Unilateral transverse facial cleft, present in between upper and lower lip, also considered as a cleft cheek. See, this is the cleft cheek, and here the mandibular prominence is failed to fuse with the maxillary prominence. Cleft beyond the lip and palate, a bilateral transverse cleft. You see, there is a oblique facial cleft is severe to or facial cleft beyond the lip and palate, and here faulty fusion of the frontonasal and maxillary process and convergence of the mandibular prominence. And last one, the cleft chin. This happens when two sides of the lower jaw don't completely fuse together during fetal development. Aside from the dimple, this does not cause any symptom. So third, there is some issue also I want to explain here, why many children with cleft palate also have cardiac defect. Because neural crest cells contribute to the much of the development of the face and to the corotancal septa of the heart. So any insult into the neural crest may causes craniofacial abnormality and also corotancal septa of the heart. Why many children with facial cleft also have intellectual defect. The association between facial cleft and intellectual or cognitive deficit is not universal. Many children with facial cleft do not experience intellectual impairment. However, there is a certain condition and symptom in which the facial cleft are associated with intellectual disability. For example, some genetic syndrome, Dyeger's syndrome, may experience both facial cleft and cognitive deficit due to the specific genetic mutation. In my another video, I hope I discuss this thing elaborately. Why many children with facial cleft also have hearing defect. Facial cleft and hearing defect in some children is often related to the shared embryological developmental process that contribute to the formation of the both face and auditory system. There is several neural crest derived hearing anomalies. Why many children with facial cleft also have glue hair. This problem is occurred because in cleft palate the faulty problem is present within the muscle of the palate. So proper muscle function of the palate is essential to the maintain the airflow through the eustachian tube, which is connected to the middle ear cavity with the nasopharynx. It occurs actually when eustachian tube does not function properly due to the lack of muscle development in the soft palate. So this is all about cleft lip and cleft palate. If you find this video helpful, please subscribe my channel, and thank you for watching.